All right, we got a lot to talk about. We got the Fed tomorrow, so let's get into it. This morning, I said yesterday, make sure you follow me on Twitter if you want the stuff in the morning where we mention what we're thinking. And this, when the whole market gaps down, we go after the twos to the upside first. Anywhere, yesterday's shorts are not getting what they want. And then after that, we'll play the 30-60 simultaneous breaks on gappers, like we know. So the reason that's important is because SPY, we did mention the potential 2-2 day, but when it gaps down, that changes what we know because now it's a gap down. And what that means is anyone that was short yesterday, they get what they wanted. Closed red yesterday, they stayed short, closed near the lows. When it gaps down, they get what they want. When it continues, they get what they want. So we're not stopping anyone out of losing positions. So we can't enter on this because if you enter here, what are you entering on? Continuation of short selling. Because until you're taking out these lows here, anyone that's long into this, they're not stopped out. So we're always looking for where these losers are. And that's why we want to go for the two ups first, because if the whole market gaps down, whatever's two up is a definite buy. And energies from the nightly vid, that's what you go after. 222, boom, takes it out. And with the 222, Rob would say it's kind of like a shotgun where you go and then send it. And if we go to XOP, 222. So you have a lot of information there. OIH, we mentioned this one should be stronger today. And is it? It is. Boom. And if you looked at the 340 calls for April 5th, those went from 250 to 350 at the highs today, closed 330. So those are already up pretty good from the daily break. And since we don't like winning trades going red, as long as it doesn't take out this 323.54, I'm going to hold on to that. If it does stop me out of that, I have the profit from entries lower in SLB to go and make sure that's not a losing trade, because I have a lot of money from the SLB in profit, over 100%, and then OIH, I think it closed up not 50%, but close, like 40-something%. So we'll see if that can keep going. All those are still good, and they should go. You got the month and the week following through on a Tuesday, and we have the Fed tomorrow, which should just make that go quicker, hopefully. So we'll look for that. The other things we could have gone after were scans. So I mentioned this morning on the stream, we're going to go after the twos to the upside first. And everyone was like, Alex, what can I do right away? What's at the top three of the list? I was like, I don't know yet. Like, we'll see where the signals go. So Macy's was one. Right near the daily signal, we were able to mention that one. It's the only one we were able to get right at the daily break. JWN, this was one we saw, but it was just way too quick to get in, not enough liquidity. You'll see if you're short yesterday or the past 4 days, right above there, you have to cover. If you go down to the oneer, look what happened. Takes it out. The next minute opens almost $1 higher. So when they're short covering, they're short covering. We know where the losers are. Very good example of we know what we know. If we go to IP, even better. Definite shorts yesterday, right? So they go into new lows, 2-2 on a Tuesday here, 36.32, and then boom, takes them all out. Obviously, we would have liked to have it off like the oneer to trigger the day or even just the daily signal, but a little late to it. So we only had the 15 here. It didn't come back to that if you're willing to hold through some downside here. And they did close higher. So we'll see if that one can keep 2 in tomorrow. Now it's triggered the month. So you have 3 months worth of people underwater. And you can see it takes all those guys out at once. It could take last year's highs around 41.89. And if we then go to real estates, these were the downside ones, which could have gone after. We mentioned a few of them just off the 15s, but they didn't really do too much. You can see 312 down, pukes for 30 minutes, 60 flip here, comes back into the morning 60 range. So that was an outside 60. So you just cover. And if you go to the 60 here, you can see 3, and then pokes down, goes green. That's when you cover on a 3. If we go to then DLR, right into its daily magnitude, the 2 up, 2 down. So if you grabbed it there, that was a pretty nice trade. If you were late, like we were, inside 15 and down could get you into that. And when I mean late is it already triggered, but this confirms that. So we can just take that here. And if it's really going to go, they'll take this low out and then keep puking. In this case, they did for a while. And then the 60 flip here at 10:30, they covered. And that was where I mentioned for the guys on the stream this morning, 60 goes green here. I was like, just cover it. We don't really care. We'll stick with the energies. And O was the other one. You'll see this. We mentioned the green to red move on the 15ers and then the 22230s as well. Takes out the daily signal, and if it's really going to puke, it'll just puke. 2 down in green comes back, and then back above, so you just cover, get out. So there wasn't much we could do there. Pretty clean action to get some plays in there, though, so no losers. But if we then go to the indexes, we'll go to the indexes first. When it comes to gap downs and gappers in general, I said the whole market's gapping down. What do I mean by that? Well, SPY's gapping down. Q's, big old gap down. IWM, big old gap down into new lows, so exhaustion risk. And then Dow Jones was not. So this one was actually relatively strong, opening inside yesterday's range. But what we look for is the 30-60s, which is why we go after the 2s to the upside first. Because if you go after those first, and then after the first 60 minutes, go after the things reversing on the 60s and 30s, now you have 2 different universes you can trade. You go for the 2s first, then you go for the things recovering the gap down, and then you can go and add to the things working on the gap down, and then you can go and add to the things working on the 2-2s back up. So you create the winning positions in the morning, and then look for those to keep going on days like today. And in this case, if we go to the SPY, inside 30 takes an hour to set up. So if you're just like, I'm going to trade the gappers, here it is, right on SPY. And if you missed that, which I didn't mention the 30, I mentioned the 60 here, 2260. The reason that happens is because if you're short, you're getting what you want. We're not stopping anyone out. Now, when this 60 goes green, now you have issues because you're short today as well, and this is green. So now they're trying to counter that. And if they do, they negate the day, and that changes your continuity and your magnitude. The day and 60 go green above 5, 12, 17. Your magnitude changes to a potential 2 go 3. And if you get back into these 3s here, we can expect that to work. The magnitude of this 2260 was this, which puts you back into those 3s. So we know the 2-2 here is going there. And if that works, it's going to take this out. And if that works, it's trying to go 3 on the day. Hopefully you see how that works. And then the evidence, the higher amount of evidence would be you also have a 30 break up in IWM. The other evidence would be Dow Jones is already going up at that point. So first 2 30s of the day, right here, it goes 2 up. That's still reconfirming the rest of those breaks higher. And then Q's, weaker than the rest, gap down further, but this, 1, 2 down in green. What does that tell you? Every single thing is a 2 or 2 going 3 to the upside on this 30 minute. What does that tell you? This should go 3. And the other thing you want to know here is the 1-3-1. What this shows you is contraction of the range. They're whipping it back and forth in here. Expansion. They're willing to sell down and buy up, which shows aggression. And then another inside bar and contraction again. And what Rob would say this is kind of like when you have high volatility and an inside bar, it's like if you take a top and you spin it on the table. If you look at it, it looks like it's not moving, right? But really what it's doing is it's going back and forth super quick in there. You just can't see it because it's moving so fast, right? Now, if you touch the top and just poke it a little bit, it explodes and it just goes around the whole table, right? The same thing here. 1-3-1, once this breaks, it should just go, right? Because they're aggressive. The equilibrium is now resolving to the upside, and we're getting out of this broadening formation here, which is an expansion. So that is resolving higher. And what that triggers is the 60 as well. So you have the 30 into the 60, and you check 10 minutes before the flip, you'll see that setting up. So hopefully that makes sense and gives you guys some more information on that and how we disseminate the gap, looking for strength and weakness. And you'll see at the open tomorrow, a 1-3-1. So we can look and see what that wants to do tomorrow morning. Maybe at 2-2's the day. It's still an inside week though. So if they're going to really recover, 44.02 would have to happen, but we're not doing that yet. If they do 2-2 the day, notice it takes you back into all these guys here. So you do have some clustered pivots to take out potentially. So 2-2 day takes you to this, and if it goes up from 438 to 441, then potentially it could go to like 442, which could trigger 443 and 444. So we'll see what what happens tomorrow with the Fed, and that's something we'll talk about later in this vid. But the semis, now that we understand how we do the gaps, the semis all gap down. So when we said the daily magnitude is to take that out, it's to take that out. What happened? They took it out. They did green to red. If you're going to short, you do it there, and that goes green to red, and you'd stop at high day. On the 5 minute, you'll see this. Slightly green, second fiver opens, negates that. Anyone that's long here gets out. Then this is what we mentioned. If you're short that stuff, we saw stuff like this on the AMD, inside 5 and down to get short. If you're short that stuff, on the second 60 of the day, it's got to stay down. In this case, you'll see the try. They poke up first, 225er, goes to the downside. Right here on the flip, changes continuity to green. Back into this 3, back into this 3. So when that happens, and it goes 3-2 here, what I said was, all right, time to cover, because if this 3-2 happens, it's going to put it up here. And that puts it a lot closer to going and taking those guys out. So that's a problem for me. And what we then saw is with the Qs going 60s inside and up, this went 2-2 reversal up. So reconfirm what the Qs did with the simultaneous break, SMH and Qs. And then XLK Tech also went 2-260 with the SPY and the Qs and all that recovering. So we really didn't have anything selling off after that first 60 of the day. And if you're not watching the 30-60 to see where things are going, you're going to miss out on a lot of the bigger moves because you're going to get stuck chopping yourself up in here. So that's why we say use the 30-60, because if it's going to go, it's going to go. And it should just take one of them to get you going in there. So hopefully that answers what you're thinking as far as the chips. And since they're 2 down in green, same with the tech, slight lower lows in green, they're trying to go outside weak. So as long as this week's green, trying to go here. And as far as the Fed and what we'll be looking for, let me pull it up and we'll start talking about it. So when it comes to the Fed and any news event, really, what we want to see is losing positions. And what that means is we want to see the broadening formation form, and then we want to trade through it. So this was a previous Fed. You can see they poke up into the highs. Anyone that's long into here, they're still long, right? Then it goes red. So now everyone that's long with stops here, 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 now they're in trouble, because when it pokes up first, everyone's long, right? News was good. So everyone's sitting there waiting for the news to come out. They just smack their keyboard. They go buy. And then it goes red. When that occurs, all those guys who bought now have to take their profit. And normally it's the first guy to take profit that actually sends it back into that and negates it to red. So once it flips, anyone that's already long has to get out. And anyone that has entered also has to get out. And then anyone that was waiting now looks at it and they're like, okay, the news was good at first. Now it's bad. I'm going to get short. And they sell into the lows. So they sell. And now the 3 and the range is bigger. So it looks something like this. And then we get, normally Powell will start speaking on the 60-minute flip, which is what we wait for. So let the 3 happen. Then the 60 flip, look for signals either back through it or to expand it. So 3-2-2 back through the 3. Magnitude of that would take this out. What would that negate? Event continuity right here. So anyone that's short, this 2-2 happens, and we know it's trying to take that out, and they don't know yet. They're like, oh, it's just retracing. It's trying to make a lower high. And then it doesn't. So once it takes this out, anyone that's short, they have to cover. And then eventually everyone has covered their short, and everyone's long. So then what happens? Well, once this 15-minute signal is over, 3-2-2, and that closes, that's done. So 3-2-2, it's closed. It's no longer in force. The try now looks like this, because all of this, these 2 bars here outside of all of this action here. Now, notice the continuation into new highs. That's not a buy. It would be an add if you're trying to add to things, but the second that goes red, you either get out of your long or you flip short, because guess what? That is a 2 going 3 back into the previous 3 of these 2 bars, because these 2 bars here are a compound 3 of this 3. So it looks like small 3, big 3, bigger 3, 2 going 3 back into the 3. A lot of 3s, right? So once that flips red, now you flip short. And if you're waiting, you can take the 2-2 down here. Or if you're willing to, you can also go in here on like a 5-minute. And you'll be able to get signals off of that. Because a 2 up in red that goes 3 is going to have a 2-2 or a 3-2-5er. 3-2 right there. So that's where you could get out and get short. And that'd be a 5-minute 3-2 signal. You short it here, your stop would either go here or maybe slightly above the high if you're willing to risk a couple more pennies. But then you look to take out the lows again. And then once it does that, that try is now twice as big. So we go back here. You'll see they expanded again. So they never reversed that 15. 2-1-2 continuations into the close. And now the try looks like this. So look at how big that thing is. So all of these bars are an outside bar of this stuff. So if we start trading back through these, we're going to try and take that high out. And if we just flip back to the 60. since the range got bigger, it makes it make more sense. You'll see 3, the broadening formation, 3, 2, 2. They triangle out by making another 3, slight higher high, slight lower low, but that's still a broadening formation. There was a 30 hammer in here, takes the 3, 2 reversal above this, and then you can see if you're waiting for the simultaneous break or actionable signal right here on the 60, inside and up, you get long. Where's it going? Top of the try. And then if that works, that was a simultaneous break with the whole market. So you can see they just really get after it and then make another 3, and then you start chopping around that broadening formation again. So hopefully you can see what we want to do as far as the Fed. Let the 3 happen, then look to trade through it. And as far as what we look for, we've already talked about identifying losing trades, right? So in this case, once we have the big Fed move, if it is a big move, we'll see. The next day, when this goes green, what do we go for? Things taking yesterday's highs, even though it's inside and green. Whoever's taking yesterday's highs, they have to get out of their short. So that's the first thing we buy. If this went inside and red, continuation, then we would still go after things taking yesterday's highs, but we'd also go and see who's reconfirming down, where are the simultaneous continuations happening, who's taking last month's lows or last week's lows, because that's where the biggest sells are going to occur. So hopefully that gives you guys some more information on the Fed, what we'll be looking for, and 16-minute video, getting through all of that, that's all good. So what we're going to do is go through the strat attack quickly, and really it's energies, and what we saw change today is industrials. They took a double inside day and up, which breaks the inside week. And probably should have had it on the nightly vid. I just haven't been scanning since I know I want to buy energies. It makes it simple. But what we did see intraday, some people mentioned it on the stream for me. GE, inside week and up, momentum continuation, bright green here. So although it's continuation, right, we're not really stopping people out, we do have some magnitude, and we do know the buyers are aggressive. So this is just, are they still aggressive? And they are. Right above 171, they kept going. So pretty nice break there. We'll see if that keeps going. And then in the industrials, we'll see Uber. Here's your try. 2-2 on a Tuesday, which changes your weekly continuity, like so. You'll see the very slight lower lows to this, slight highs to this. So notice this is a 3, 2-2 back through the 3. So if that doesn't reverse, I'm going to try and take these guys out. So we'll see if that can go outside week, start doing that on the month. It is slight high and then red. So 2-2 back through is trying to negate all those guys. DE, this is one we've seen ADEX talking about a lot. Still an inside month, but it is bright green. If we go to the week, you'll see continuation week. If you go to the day, it's just continuation day. So they've just been going after this one for a while. And you can see that big old daily try here, pokes into lows and hasn't looked back. If we go to RTX, also in the industrials, continuation week and continuation month after corrective month here. So they bought Monday, bought Tuesday again. So we'll see. Still has a lot of range to go way up there if we zoom out on the month here. Here's your big old try, so potentially back into 108. If we go to FedEx, that one went 2-2 on a Tuesday. Still an inside week, but bright green. 2-2 month in force still. So we'll see if that can get moving. UPS will have a 2-2-2. So potential 2-2 with the FedEx to get it moving would negate this shooter week. Still has a 2-2 month in force, trying to, you can see, reclaim all these previous lows. So could really get going if those can both start moving. What we did see is LMT, mentioned it briefly today, but 2-2, 3-2-2 back up, ran out of time, but 3-2-2 month in force. So this one could start waking up, going to 46.6 or 466, and that tells you to look at NOC, which is an inside week and up, inside and up today. So that gets it going. Inside month and up triggered today as well. So you can see 3 slight lower lows, inside and up, you're going for the top of the 3. So you got some range there, and we know there's wars going on. So maybe the government's going to come out with some news or something later this month or next month. And we're just front running that. We'll see. GD is one we've mentioned on the macro vid with the momentum hammer here. Also going to be in the industrials and the aerospace defense. And they did also buy that one Monday, Tuesday. So we know they're going and buying those this week. I know it's going into highs, but you have weekly signals in force. You have reason to believe those are going to continue. So that's where there's some buyers this week, as well as the XLE, which really got going today. So we can look at those two sectors and really focus on what those are doing. And then we'll see what the SMHs have for us, if anything, later this week, since those are pretty good intraday ones to be looking at. The other things we have seen is Apple could go 2-2-2 tomorrow, 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, and get a week going if the Fed's good. We did see Microsoft break inside and up today. Ran out of time to really do anything, but it is green as heck on the week. Google did 2-2 the day down, so we'll see what that one's going to do. Still a 2 up and red week, so they potentially have some issues, but they haven't really started puking yet. So if Apple goes up tomorrow, this one might as well. And in the chips, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Intel, bottom pickers, if you're going for the hammer day off the bottom of the try, might be able to do that. And AMAT, potential 2 up, 2 down, 2 up, and that could get the week 2-2 back up. So we'll see. Still an inside week. LRCX could also 2-2 back up with some pivot machine gun. If we go to QCOM, that one still has some issues. So along with Marvel, which had some issues prior at 80.98 for the kickers, and the inside day down with the 2-2 week down that occurred up here. QCOM, a little bit of problem still. SWKS, this is one I mentioned on the 322s. I had it from last week because we took some stuff to set that up, but I covered today. I don't know if I mentioned that in the vid yet, but once we saw that second 60 of the day on the SMHs, I went to cover. So if you didn't cover and you're willing to stay in on the 2-2-30s or 60s or the 2 going 3 day yesterday, perfectly fine. It's still a 2 down. I just didn't want to hold it. I'd rather get the buying power back for tomorrow to potentially go after some more industrials and energies. So that's what I'm doing, and that really covers all the bases I wanted to hit today. If you guys have questions or topics you'd like videos on to talk about, feel free to let me know. But buy energies, buy industrials, and we'll see what the gaps are going to have for tomorrow morning on Twitter, and that'll be about it. So I'll see you guys then.